Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Cimmerian September. Cimmerian September in its waning days, almost in its final week. This is a BookTube event created by Michael K. Vaughan to celebrate Robert E. Howard, one of his favorite authors, and also all the creations of Robert E. Howard's fecund imagination. Conan the Barbarian, yes, but in 2025 you're also encouraged to read all the other stuff that Robert E. Howard wrote that wasn't Conan. Almost all of which has had lovely reprint volumes for affordable paperback prices in the last 2 decades. But I'm not doing that. I have a stack of old Savage Sword of Conan Marvel comics from 40 years ago, and I am reading my way through that stack, and I am enjoying it. I'm finding all sorts of interesting things. I left off reading Savage Sword of Conan around issue 100. So I have not studied these issues at all, whereas some of the earlier issues, especially the first 50 issues of Savage Sword of Conan, I have read more times than I can count. So I'm always happy to find good Conan adventures, and I found a good one today. Or last night, rather. I found, we're up to Savage Sword of Conan number 121. I'm sorry, I know that Joe Jusko has achieved the status of some kind of cover legend, but his covers aren't good. They just aren't good, and this is the cover to this issue. It doesn't matter how good a swordsman you are. It doesn't matter how muscular you are. You're going to freeze to death if you're dressed like that in a snowy wilderness. An Arctic wilderness. You're going to freeze to death. You both are. You're going to freeze to death. And also, every other thing involved, every other possible thing involved, Conan is dramatically signaling with his open hand to his buxom companion that she should hand him his sword. And she is pulling it out of the scabbard in a way that would cut her fingers and thumb off. Getting ready to hand it to him. But she's a long way off from handing it to him. It's about halfway out of its scabbard. This guy has his sword entirely free and is standing there within striking distance ready, while Conan just stares at him. And, not to mention the fact that Conan does not have normal human anatomy, even a normal human face. I know this guy is a legend, but anyway, we move on to the story itself, which is written by Larry Yakata with art by Rudy Nebres. On his own, Rudy Nebres is a great inker. I love him as an inker on Doctor Strange, for instance. I also think he's wonderful. It does a wonderful job inking John Buscema. I don't think John Buscema thought that, but I liked it. I've always liked them as a combination. Or even a little bit of work on Marvel's adaptation of John Carter of Mars. So it was interesting to see him as an artist in his own right, because once you see an inker just on their own, you get a much stronger sense of their own artistic influences. I think it's pretty clear to say that one of Rudy Nebres' artistic influences is Gil Kane. But the story is The Fountain of Umir. And it is the story of a semi-legendary monastery up in the hills of the hinterlands. But once a year in a religious ceremony, it has a fountain that spouts gold. Spouts liquid gold that you can shape it in any way you want when it dries off, and you've got an endless supply of gold, as much as you can carry for that day. And we start off the story with brigands attacking a man while Conan looks on up there in the... He isn't quite there yet. We're not 100% sure what he would do, but it turns out he doesn't do enough. The killing happens, or the mortal wounding happens, and he comes across the man who has been jumped. You can see the surreal nature of the artwork, very different from Ernie Chan. This is flowing kind of illustration. He comes across the man who only wants one favor of him: to kill him quickly, rather than let him die over the course of 2 days from a stomach wound. And Conan agrees. The man thinks, well, if you're going to do me this favor, I should do a favor for you. And he tells him about the fountains of Umir that spew liquid gold on a rare occasions. And if you go there, it's the making of a man. And Conan says, sleep well, and does kill him. And then proceeds into the neighboring kingdom, where it turns out that two factions are at war, and both factions are bedeviled by religious teachings, by a religious gospel. There's all sorts of evil on both sides, and Conan does not want to get involved. He is not taking sides. He's just passing through. The captain of the guards of one of the sides it makes him an offer. It says, "You there, stranger, tell me if the size of your broadsword is any measure of your skill. King Aragu is always in need of good swordsmen to rid his land of scum like the people they themselves have just attacked." With Conan standing there watching and not taking any part. And the captain continues. He says, "He pays handsomely. What do you say?" And Conan, Lariakata, seems not to understand that it's not mayhaps. Mayhaps is not perhaps. It's mayhap. So Conan says mayhaps. And the captain decides to sick some of his men on Conan. And Conan dismembers and kills them all. The captain doesn't seem to think much of it. I mean, the men attack Conan, and this is what I like about this issue. This is a very Conan true moment, which is what I've said before about this character. One of the essential appeals of this character is that when you attack him with violence, you do not get violence in return. You get a whirlwind. You get the end of the world. It's rather neatly captured in this panel here, where the citizens of the town just can't believe what they're looking at. And the captain, one of the captain's soldiers says, "Well, your luck can't last forever." And Conan tells him luck had nothing to do with it and spits him wide open. The captain doesn't seem to worry that he's just gratuitously wasted the lives of his men. This is a total incompetence. Either he wants Conan drafted into his king's army, in which case telling his men to kill Conan is stupid, or he thinks Conan might actually be as worthy as this giant broadsword on his hip, in which case it's a waste to send your men against him. Conan tells him, "I still haven't decided, I don't know, I don't care," and goes on to get into a bar brawl later that night, and still with the various factions wanting him to serve. The captain returns to him and says, "I still want you. I want to bring you to King Aragu and, have him make you an offer." And Conan does not respect him at all. He says, "I don't need a troop of you. I'll go to see the king, but I don't need a troop of you to take me there. I'll take just you." And he kicks him. Gives him a boot in the behind. And when they're on the road, the captain says, "Cimmerian, you did not have to kick me in front of my friends, in front of my men." And Conan says, "Next time I'll use my sword." So it's a very hard story, very harsh. Conan gets to the king's castle and talks all about the cause, and is also approached by the rival faction, also wanting his help and offering him not only gold, but a beautiful wench. Conan still isn't deciding. He is watching the civil unrest, the factional conflict, and also the ill will between the soldiers and these preachers. And he doesn't want anything of it. Rudy Neveris does a really good job where he shows the men in a tavern. Conan is just eating while soldiers are attacking all of these men. And they just continue to attack them while Conan continues to eat. He's not paying any attention at all. But he does decide to work for the king, and the king sends him on a solo mission, which just happens to be near the Umir monastery. Which is why Conan readily agrees to go to the monastery, and sure enough, he sees exactly what he's been told, that this fountain really does spout gold. During a religious ceremony, we get an image of it doing exactly that. And the monks just shape the gold into anything they want. Conan says, "Crom smite me dead if I've ever seen such a sight, and smite me twice if I don't leave with my back bent from the weight of those golden rods." And he proceeds to do that, but the kingdoms are still at war, and they are telling each other, well, we just have to be careful not to anger him. If we don't get in his way, he's going to leave both of us alone, and we'll go on with what we want. But that's too neat a story. Conan gets what he wants. The people at the Umir monastery don't seem inclined to defend their miracle, so he gets what he wants in terms of treasure. But when he's trying to make his way through the two fighting armies, neither one of them wants anything to do with him. He encounters a solo champion who has never met a man he didn't kill, etc., etc. And they have a long sword fight. So this is another example. It was very nice to see. This Rudy Nebrett's artwork is just terrific. And that was very nice to see. But it is still an example of what we've seen already in these Savage Sword of Conan issues, which is padding. It's still a good deal of padding. And it still ends with Conan, one of the rival leaders has been brought down and is in front of his enemies. He's calling out to Conan, "Help me, and I'll give you anything you want." Conan rides off. He stays uninvolved from start to finish. Which is pretty interesting. I was pretty satisfied with this as a Conan story. And then I got yet another King Kull backup story by Chuck Dixon with art by Jeff Isherwood. Just incredible. Where Kull is not like Conan. Kull is a king. He is involved in the operation of law. He's not just a freebooter. And he is overseeing the execution of a man who is guilty of villainy and sorcery. And the man on the block says, "Blast you, Kull, this will not save you from my wrath. Death is no barrier to me." And the chonk suggests that he's had his head cut off. But it turns out he's as good as his word. His followers steal his body and his head and conduct a ritual. They have his head in the box. See, and he's yelling at them, "Hurry up, hurry up. The containment spell is almost over. You have to reconnect me with the body." And Kull tells his men, including Brule the Spear Slayer, to stop it before he attaches to his mortal body. And they manage to do it. And Kull says, look at these great visuals. Kull decides to chain his head into a box and throw it into the bottom of the ocean. Now, why he decides to do that as opposed to burning the head, I don't know. I do know, because he's a comic book character and written by a comic book writer who's thinking, I might need this guy someday. So he doesn't destroy the head. But it was still a neat story. It was a little thing, but it was a neat story. Aside from the crappy cover, this was a really good issue of Savage Sword of Conan. So yet another success for Cimmerian September. Fine by me. I will keep going till the end of the month. But anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you.